On today's episode, we do a deep dive into how to get people to review your books. Welcome to the fourth episode of AskComixTribe, the question and answer show about the craft and business of making and selling comics. I'm your host, Tyler James, and I'm happy to be back for another episode. I'm having a lot of fun doing these episodes. Sounds like the YouTube community and the comics community is enjoying them, and I think this is a really nice addition to the wealth of resources that we have over at ComixTribe.com. If you're only finding us now here on YouTube for the first time, definitely go over to ComixTribe.com and see all the just stuff that we have there for writers, for artists, for make comics professionals and self-publishers. I think you're going to find a ton of stuff there. I write a column there, and Stephen Forbes has a number of columns as well. There's comic reviews for indie comic stuff. Just great resources. Check it out. But you're here for the questions, so let's get it going.
How do I get comic reviewers to review my independent comic book?
This is a great follow-up to a question we had on reviews in an earlier episode. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk about the importance of building your reviewer list and give you some concrete steps on how to do that. You might be saying, Ty, why can't you just give me your list of media contacts of advanced reviewers who have covered your books? That would just save you a lot of time and you'd love it. But here's the thing, that's my list. I built it. So the effectiveness that you would have with that list probably wouldn't be the same as I have with it, because it's something that I've built over time. Those are relationships that I've cultivated, that I've developed, and work for me. I guess, think of it as Derek Jeter's little black book of his supermodel contacts. In his hands, probably pretty valuable. In yours, might maybe be a lot less so. All right, so let's talk about building your advanced reviewer list. The first thing you need to do is tackle this as a research project. And the first step of that is to find targets. You want to get a list of reviewers that you could potentially send your books to. The best way to do this and to find people that would actually conceivably review your book is to write down the names of the 5 books that have been released in the last 2 or 3 years.
Any tips for selling more books at conventions?
Outside of the big 2 that are most like your title. Now, if you're going to come back and say, well, what I'm doing is revolutionary, there's nothing like it on the market, well, you've already lost. Every book has comps, has books that are like it. Now that might be, you're talking about a genre or the kind of lead protagonist. You can sort of be expansive about what the definition of like your book is, but jot down the names of 5 books that have come out in the last couple of years that are like your book. If you can't do this yourself, on the one hand, you're probably not paying enough attention to the comic book industry to have real success there, and so you might want to do some research. But you can also feel free to pitch your title to some of your friends or your local comic book retailer and ask them, what books does this sound like? Whose titles does this sound like? Okay, and so now you've got your list of 5 comps, 5 books that have already been published, have already gone out, and now what I want you to do is do just a basic Google search for reviews of those titles. The first issue of those titles is going to be the one that's going to get the most hits. For every review that you find for those comp books, what's the website that it's on, what's the name of the reviewer that did it, and any contact information that you can find. So now what you have is a great starting list of reviewers who are out there who review the kinds of things that you do. All right, step 2. You've got your list of reviewers, you've got contact information for them. This is key. Don't send them your book now. Now's not the time. You're still a stranger to this person, and you'd be a stranger making a request of someone. And in general, as human beings, we're a lot less likely to help out complete strangers who we've never heard from, who the first time we ever hear from them, they're asking you to do something, than we are from people we know. And so what step 2 is all about is engaging the reviewers on their terms and becoming not a stranger, but someone they know in the industry. This goes back to, this is old school Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People 101, where he says, you know, the easiest way to get someone to take an interest in you and the things you're doing is to take an avid, earnest, and sincere interest in the stuff they're doing. I think sometimes as creators, we might have a tendency not to respect the work that reviewers do, but you got to understand, like, writing comic book reviews and writing them well, that's an art form in and of itself. These are people that are spending 2, 3, 4 hours reading and then reviewing these titles, putting a lot of work into it, and they're doing it out of passion, and they're not doing it for a lot of money. Sound familiar? Okay, so you sort of, you can get try to get into the psychology of people that are reviewing these books and empathize with them a little bit. The other thing you need to recognize is these reviewers get so many books sent to them, the good ones anyway. That there's no way they're going to read and review them all. You know, most of the good reviewers out there have an access to everything Image puts out, everything Dynamite puts out, everything Dark Horse puts out, everything Valiant puts out. You got to understand that that's going on a digital pile that's probably a mile high for most of these reviewers. Okay, so what do I mean by engage with reviewers? What does engaging even look like? Well, again, they spent 2, 3, 4 hours on all of their articles when they put them out there on the internet. They're not, if they're putting them out there, they're doing that because they want people to read them. They want people to read them and engage them and share them ideally. So engaging with reviewers means leaving a thoughtful comment on their website, or you could share a link praising a good review that they wrote on Twitter and include their handle in the hashtag, handle or hashtag or website when you share that review. It could include either offering them a suggestion for a book if they liked if they wrote a review about a certain book they liked, and go ahead and suggest another book that you think they might like, or ask them if they've read it and what they thought about it. And make sure that that's not your book, okay? You know, that you're trying to engage them on something that's not self-serving at this point. Or, you know, ask them a question, ask them for a recommendation. You agreed with their review on something. What else are they reading now? Try to, this stage, this phase is about becoming, you know, no longer a stranger, but someone in the industry who respects what they do, and is now, you know, a familiar face or handle, at least online. Okay, so at this point, you've identified reviewers who read the kind of books that you are working on, and you've engaged with them over the course of weeks or months about the things that they already like and write about. So now you're in a good position, a far better position than you were at the start, to send a request to present your title and make a formal request for them to review it. At this point, you want to send a personalized email referencing any sort of engagement or work of theirs that you've enjoyed, or engagement that you two have had back and forths, or discussions that you've had in the past. And then briefly and succinctly point out the high-level concept of your book and the concept of the pitch, and include a PDF, low-res PDF, nothing over 15 megabytes, preferably under 10, and then ask them specifically and clearly to consider reviewing it. Also, make sure to ask them to share a link with you of the review that they do, so that you can share across your own social networks and tweet the hell out of it to drive traffic to their work. And that's pretty much it. I think following these steps of identifying the right people to do the reviews, engaging with them beforehand, and becoming not a complete stranger, but someone that they've actually had interactions with and thoughtful discussions with, and then making a clear, succinct ask, and providing them the PDF to review, is going to be a great way to start building a reviewer list, and then actually getting reviews out of that list. Talkback question of the day. Do you read comic book reviews? And if so, what are the best comic book review websites out there? And who are the best reviewers on those websites? That's it for this episode of Ask ComixTribe. Just the one question today. I wanted to take a deep dive and give you some concrete steps to really improve and expand your comic book reviewer list. And so I hope that helps you guys out. I want to thank you all for the feedback that's been coming in. A lot of positive stuff for the show, a lot of suggestions, and taking those to heart. I would like to improve the production value of this show. Better camera, better mic, better lighting, better set. But right now we're just focusing on the content. This is very much still in the experimental phase, and I don't want to wait until I have the everything perfect to keep this content coming out, because otherwise this stuff would never actually come out. So thanks for putting up with me. We'll see if we can get a sexier host at some point. But for now, again, I hope you guys keep the questions coming. Use hashtag AskComixTribe on Twitter or ask@comixtribe.com, and we'll get your question on the show. Thanks for watching.